Hey there and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kristen and I hope you decide to stick around. So this video is going to be kind of controversial, which I think is unfortunate because so many women are unable to breastfeed their children, and it really isn't something that they should be shamed for, but it is what it is, I suppose, and I'm sure I'll get some heat for this, even though what I went through wasn't my fault and couldn't be controlled. But this is the story about why I was unable to breastfeed my son. So if you've been on my channel for a while, then you know that I have a baby boy. He will be a year old next month, which is crazy. But as the title states, I was unable to breastfeed. So let's just go ahead and get on into my story. This was my first pregnancy. He's my first child. And to be honest, I was never sure how I felt about breastfeeding to begin with. I know that, it's supposed to be better for your child. I'm not going to argue that and say that it's not. But I just always felt uncomfortable with the idea of it just because of how, society plays the whole, boobs are sexual kind of a thing. Like, I just felt uncomfortable with the whole idea of breastfeeding, especially just through my pregnancy. So I also have a family history of people not being able to breastfeed anyways. So when I found out I was pregnant and I started having to make these decisions about, like, am I going to breastfeed, am I not, yada yada, I kind of went into it with the idea of I'll try it, but I'm not going to get my hopes up because I've got this family history of women not being able to breastfeed, and so the chances are I probably won't be able to either. I just kind of went into it with that attitude of I'll try it, but I'm not going to expect anything from it. Sorry, I've kind of got like a drive-through. So I had my son full term. Everything was fine, normal. I will note that my boobs did get a little bit bigger, but not drastically, not compared to some people, and I never had any leakage pre-birth, so I'll throw that out there as well. I know Sarah Ray Vargas did a whole video talking about why she couldn't breastfeed. It's some kind of a condition that she has. I was never diagnosed with anything, but just the things that she mentioned kind of sound familiar to what I went through, so I kind of wonder if, maybe I don't have the same issue. I don't know. But I had my son at full term. I ended up having to have him via C-section. It was an unplanned C-section. His head was too big. So there's that. The whole C-section was just a giant mess. I will leave a link down below to my birthing story. But I can't say that the C-section was a mess, but like everything leading up to and me being in labor for 24 hours, trying to have him naturally. I didn't want any medication. Then I had to get the epidural, and it's a whole mess. I will leave a link down below if you want to go watch it. But I ended up getting pumped full of so many medications that after I had him, I was shaking so hard that I couldn't really hold him. Like, they placed him on me and then they crossed my arms over him, and a nurse was like holding my arms down on him because I was shaking so bad I couldn't hold him. So they take me back to my hospital room and they ask if I want to try to nursing. I said, yeah, I'll give it a go. I'll try it out. And, they placed him on me and he tried to latch, but I was shaking so hard that I couldn't hold him in place. Even with the nurse's help, I was shaking him so hard from all the drugs that were in my system that I just couldn't hold him in place, so it was making it hard for him to latch. And he was hungry. He was very hungry. And so the nurse takes him from me, and she's like, he's really hungry. And I was like, well, just go ahead and feed him. Like, I don't want him to go hungry, just because I can't hold him. That's not fair to him. I'm not going to make him go hungry over this. So they went ahead and made him a bottle, and my nurse said, we have a lactation consultant that she's like the best one we have. She's fantastic. She'll be here tomorrow. She'll come in first thing in the morning. Expect her at like 7:30 or 8 in the morning. Okay, sounds great. We'll just give him a bottle for the night, so he's full and has a full tummy, and then we'll try breastfeeding in the morning. So next day rolls around, and I ask about the lactation consultant, and they're like, oh yeah, she'll be here. And keep in mind, like, none of these other nurses have offered at this point to, like, help me with nursing him, nothing. Like, I didn't get any assistance since the first time they tried it, and I was shaking so hard that I couldn't hold him to me. And granted, I didn't ask for any, but I was told that, you know, the lactation consultant would be there first thing in the morning and that she was the best, and like, it just kind of seemed like that's who I should be waiting for. It's just kind of the vibes I got from the nurses at the hospital. So I was waiting for her, and she didn't show up until like 6 o'clock the next evening. So by this time, my son was well over a day old before the lactation consultant came in to see me. And she came in, and you know, and by this time, you know, he had bottles all night, he had bottles all day, he, you know, was used to the bottle. And my lactation consultant came in, and she had me, you know, put him to my chest, and you know, she just kind of showed me what to do. And he had zero interest in it. Didn't want to take my boob. Like, he wasn't interested. He knew the bottle was immediate and he didn't have to work for it. He had no interest in taking from me. So my lactation consultant just seemed flustered by the whole thing. She seemed really annoyed. And I didn't feel great, okay? I had to have a C-section. I'd been in labor for 24 hours the night before. And I just felt beat up. I felt like I got ran over by a truck. It was an awful feeling. I felt horrible. And I didn't feel like dealing with her, to be honest, because she just had such an attitude to her. She just had such a, like, if you don't breastfeed and give your child breast milk, then, like, you're a horrible parent and you might as well be feeding your kid dog food kind of an attitude to her. But she also had very little compassion. She didn't seem to have any kind of understanding to the fact that I felt like shit. And she seemed very frustrated that my son wouldn't take my boob. And it's like, lady, you were supposed to be here at like 8 in the morning and you weren't, and he's gone a full 24 hours on a bottle. Like, that's going to take a little bit of adjusting. And she literally worked with me for maybe 3 minutes and pretty much gave up and sat on the bed kind of lecturing us about how bad formula is and how he should be on breast milk and blah, blah, blah. And yet she's doing nothing else to help us with trying to get him to latch, and he has no interest in it. So I'm just over her. I'm done with her. And I asked her, do you guys just have a pump? And her whole demeanor just changed. And she's like, yeah, we have one of those. And she went and grabbed me a pump and brought it in and showed me how to use it and left. And kind of put me on a pumping schedule. I think I was pumping, is it every 2 hours? I think I was pumping, it's been over a year, so I don't remember exactly. But I think I was pumping every 2 hours, except for when I was sleeping. So I started pumping. I had, you know, no other help as far as trying to get him to latch. No one else seemed interested, and quite frankly, I just wasn't in the mood for dealing with it, especially with her sour attitude, and I just didn't want to deal with her, to be honest. So I started pumping. They had the electric pumps at the hospital, and I was pumping every 2 hours around the clock, like really trying to get my milk production up. He was still having bottles, but I was doing everything I could, you know, to produce milk. And I, in the hospital, never got above doing, I don't know, 5 milliliters maybe? I didn't make very much. And it was mostly just colostrum. My milk didn't actually come in until we got home. And when we got home, and by the time we left the hospital, he was up to drinking, I think, a full ounce, maybe an ounce and a half. Okay, so my like little 5 milliliters was like a power shot for him. Okay, like it was nothing. We made sure he got it. I remember we started out with like, we had a syringe and we would suck up any kind of milk I could get. And this is out of both boobs, okay? It's not just one. I was pumping both boobs for 30 minutes every 2 hours, and I was only getting 5 milliliters. That's it. So we were taking a syringe, sucking up what we could get, and squirting it into his mouth. Well, not like so powerfully, but you know, putting it in his mouth, and then giving him a bottle because he was still hungry. So by the time we left the hospital, I was still only making like maybe 5 milliliters, and he was still very hungry and very much up to 1 to 2 ounces. So when we got home, I didn't have an electric pump. All I had was a manual pump that they gave me at the hospital. I didn't realize that my insurance would pay for an electric pump, so I didn't go that route to ask for one. I didn't know. Nobody said anything. I mean, my cousin mentioned it, but I thought that I had to have my deductibles paid before they would pay for it, and that's not the case. And that's bad on me. I should have done my research better. I just assumed that I knew things that I didn't know. So we get home, I'm still on the same pumping schedule every 2 hours for 30 minutes, but because I have one manual pump, that means what would be a 30-minute pumping session is actually an hour long because it's 30 minutes per boob, and I'm still making about 5 milliliters. I might have my measurements wrong as far as like milliliters. It's not centimeters. I'm not good with math, okay, but I think it's 5 milliliters. I got up to making 10 milliliters at one point, still not very much, and they were literally like his power shots. Like, they were like his shots before his bottle. So, and we always made sure he got the breast milk first, but it was never very much. It was all I was making. And I was drinking lots of water, trying to make sure I was fully hydrated. I was trying to eat a good diet. I was trying to get plenty of sleep. Of course, that's hard to do with a newborn. I was trying everything that I knew how to do. And I did this for about 2.5 weeks, not quite a full 3. And the most I ever made was 1 full ounce, and that was from both boobs, and it happened twice in the almost 3 weeks that I was pumping. And we took our son to his 2-week checkup, but honestly it was just 2 weeks after we got out of the hospital, because we were in the hospital for like 4 or 5 days. So it was almost like his first full week was in the hospital, and then he had a doctor's appointment 2 weeks after we got out, but it was his 2-week appointment. Went there, doctor was asking about like my mental health, like how are you doing, you know, and then she was like, what's he eating? And we were like, well, he's mostly eating bottles, but like I'm pumping every 2 hours, but I'm only getting 1 ounce, like that's all I'm making. And she told me, she's like, honey, she's like, if you're not making very much and you're not enjoying it, she's like, don't worry about it. He's getting plenty from his formula. Don't stress out. Just enjoy him being little. And when I heard that from my doctor, it was just like a big relief, because for those 3 weeks, like I felt like I wasn't enjoying my son, and that's really what is important, is the getting to bond with your kid and getting to hold your baby and snuggle them and really just enjoy them being little, because they're only tiny for so long. I feel like I'm gonna cry. They're only tiny for so long, and I felt like my whole schedule was pump for an hour, feed him, change his diaper, he go back to sleep, I might be able to eat something, go to the bathroom, take a shower, and then he's awake and wants to eat, and I need to make sure that I've pumped before he wakes back up. Like, that was just like my whole life for almost 3 weeks, and it was horrible. It was horrible. I didn't enjoy it. It was awful. And if I hadn't worried so much about trying to pump for those 3 weeks, like, I probably would have enjoyed being with him a little bit more, and I would have relaxed more. But the whole time I was just like so obsessed with the idea of, you know, can I get my milk up? And I know I could have looked into more routes. Maybe I could have tried harder. Maybe I should have. Some people will say that I should have tried harder. But I know my family history. I've got cousins who tried harder, and they did lactation cookies, and they did lactation consultants at the house, and they did like A, B, C, and D, and they still couldn't produce. And I was like, I'm not going to put forth all of that effort and all of that money that I could be spending on my baby for it to not work. And when the doctor said, you know, just he's doing fine on formula, let him have formula, that was all I needed. And I was like, okay, I'm done with this. He's gotten 3 weeks of breast milk power shots, and he got all the colostrum that I possibly made. We're calling it a day. So he's been on formula ever since then. My son is completely healthy. He is so smart. He is 11.5 months old, almost going to be a year. He says, how many words does he say now? He's got mama, dad, and nana. Tonight he started saying thank you, and he puts it together. He says no and yeah. He's trying to say book. It comes out ook, but he's trying. And I love you. He tries to say it. It's if you weren't his parent, you probably wouldn't realize what he's saying. But if you say I love you to him, he'll make a sound that sometimes he does it, sometimes he doesn't. But it sounds like it's like of you is what it sounds like. But he's trying. So he's got several words down. He's crawling everywhere. He's smart as a whip. he's doing fine on formula. So say what you will, he's doing fine. I regret nothing except maybe trying for so long to breastfeed when clearly, not breastfeed, but trying so long to pump when it clearly wasn't working, because I could have been spending the time snuggling him and just enjoying him being little, because that's what is important. And fed is best. I don't care what anybody else says. Fed is best. Having a fed baby is best. Yes, breast milk might be better for you. That's like saying eating organic is better for you. Yeah, they're both true. But, you know, eating regular baby carrots versus eating organic baby carrots, it's still a carrot and it's still good for you either way. So that's my 2 cents on that. And that's pretty much my story and my experience of why I couldn't breastfeed, because no one at the hospital seemed to really care, to be honest with you. And after dealing with that one lactation consultant, I was kind of over the whole idea of it, to be completely honest. But that's my story. So if you enjoyed, then I hope you decide to stick around and subscribe. I will be monitoring the comments in here. If people get super nasty, I might disable them. So just letting you guys know that, because I think this should be a safe space. And if you chose to put your child on formula, or if you just couldn't breastfeed like I couldn't, then I don't think you should be bashed for that. I mean, it's your kid, it's your life, and you gotta do what you gotta do. And it's really nobody else's business, to be honest. And if you choose to breastfeed, that's awesome, more power to you. You know, good job. But I wasn't able to. And I don't think that I should be shamed or ridiculed or criticized for that, because my body didn't produce enough. And that's not my fault. Like, I can't, you know, there's not what I can do there. So anyways, yeah, that's my experience. Hope you guys decide to stick around. I post videos every Monday and Thursday. Those tend to be fashion, beauty, mom talk videos, those kind of more structured videos. And then Saturdays I post my weekly vlogs of just, you know, everything that's happened the week prior. So I hope you decide to stick around by hitting the subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.